Welcome to Rides and Roars. Today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite roller coasters at Six Flags Over Georgia. Starting off at number 10, we have the Dahlonega Mine Train. It opened with the park back in 1967 and is a classic aero mine train roller coaster. This coaster features three separate lift hills and a drop into a tunnel to finish off the ride. It has a max height of 37 feet and a top speed of 29 miles per hour. The ride experience is somewhat uncomfortable due to some of those awkward aero transitions, and the lap bars don't exactly come down to keep you secure. Most of the ride you'll probably spend bracing yourself because you're thrown around in every direction. Other than that, the ride does do a good job of working with the terrain, but it's mostly lift hills, so this is strictly a family coaster. So really the only reason why this ride cracks the top 10 is because the park has 11 coasters, and the other one being Joker's Funhouse, which is very much a kiddie coaster. Next up at number 9 is the Great American Scream Machine. Scream Machine was built back in 1973 by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company, or PTC for short. At the time, it was the longest, fastest, and tallest roller coaster in the world, with its height of 105 feet and max speed of 57 miles per hour. It has a unique out and back layout with very scenic view over the lake. Prior to the RMC conversion of the Georgia Cyclone into Twisted Cyclone, this is my favorite wooden coaster in the park. Its old trains with the buzz bar restraints provided for maximum airtime depending on how tight you had your seatbelt. But after the Cyclone conversion, they thought it would be a great idea to add the old Cyclone PTC trains onto Scream Machine. It seems they added new trains for the 2020 season, but I wish they could just go back to the old ones because they provided some of the best airtime in the park. So that puts Scream Machine at number 9 because it really isn't re-rideable and will give you a headache if you don't sit in the right row. Next up on my list is Blue Hawk. Blue Hawk originally opened at the park as Ninja in 1992 and is a custom Vekoma looper. It has a height of 122 feet and a max speed of 52 miles per hour. This ride is most notable for its conversion from Ninja into Blue Hawk back in 2016, when Vekoma provided all new soft over-the-shoulder vest restraints instead of the hard over-the-shoulder harnesses. It's now even been coined as a popular phrase to say a coaster got the Blue Hawk treatment. Blue Hawk does have a pretty good layout with 5 inversions and a unique double looping element not seen on any other coaster. Plus its position over the lake provide for some good views and great off-ride shots. When I rode Ninja back in 2005 for the first time, it was actually my first ever looping roller coaster. However, towards the end of its days as Ninja, it primarily became known as a headbanging machine. They even had to put up signs in the station telling you to take off your earrings because it could bloody your ears. As I grew taller, I was eventually able to have my head come above the restraint, so it turned into a form of neck banging instead of head banging. The new vest restraints do prevent any form of head banging, but they hurt your shoulders a bit, and that doesn't take away from the fact that the ride still throws you side to side. So Blue Hawk comes in at number 8 on my list because despite the renovations, I still find it uncomfortable. Coming in at number 7 on my list is Daredevil Dive, the Gerschlauer Eurofighter. Daredevil is a 95-foot tall vertical lift hill and reaches a top speed of 52 miles per hour. Its first drop is also at an angle of descent of 95 degrees. Built in 2011, it was the first Eurofighter to feature lap bar restraints instead of over-the-shoulder restraints, which allow for maximum hang time in elements like the Heartline roll at the end of the ride. Its trains have 3 rows and 2 people per row for a maximum 6 people per car, and they do have 4, but most of the time they struggle enough running 3. They also can only load and exit 1 car at a time, so that makes Daredevil one of the longest lines in the park. Back in 2016, they even thought it would be a good idea to add VR headsets to an already low capacity ride, which just made the line even worse. As for the ride itself, I find it to be quite boring other than the first lift and drop, plus the Heartline roll at the end. It pulls some strong positive Gs, but mostly it just meanders around the course and never really fully inverts you until the Heartline roll. It's a shame that Six Flags no longer works with Gerschlauer because a lot of their new rides look great, and Daredevil is kind of subpar. That, combined with its low capacity and horrible operations, put this ride at number 7 on my list. At number 6 I have Superman Ultimate Flight, the B&M Flying Coaster. Built in 2002, Superman was the first to be built of another two clones that were placed at Great Adventure and Great America, and makes a good use of terrain as opposed to the others. It has a height of 106 feet and a max speed of 51 miles per hour. I've also ridden its clones, and this is by far the best of the three. As of the making of this video, the only other flying coaster I've been on is Manta at SeaWorld, and the Superman clones lack in layout as compared to that. The pretzel loop is a common element on all flying coasters, but it still pulls great G's and gets me every time. This Superman in particular really gives you the flying experience as it passes low to the ground and conforms with the terrain. It's an amazing experience for someone who hasn't been on a flying coaster before, but because of its lack of originality, it's going number 6 on this list. Coming in at number 5, I have the Georgia Scorcher, which is a B&M stand-up and one of the few left in the country. Most B&M stand-ups are being converted into floorless models, and when they decided to repaint the Georgia Scorcher, I honestly thought that they were going to do the same. Built in 1999, the Georgia Scorcher was actually the last B&M stand-up model to be constructed anywhere. Its stats lack with only a top speed of 54 miles per hour and a height of 107 feet, but it's still one of my favorite stand-up coasters. I don't mind the awkward bicycle seat too much, but my biggest issue with most stand-up coasters is that they bang my head. Despite its overall stats and short ride time with only 2 inversions, I still find the Georgia Scorcher to be an excellent stand-up because of its lack of headbanging. It also has a great near-ground element near the end and fits well onto its small plot of land. Because it's one of the last of its kind and still a quality ride, this is coming in at number 5 on my list. Coming in at number 4, I'm putting Mindbender. Mindbender is a Schwarzkopf custom looper built in 1978. It has a height of 80 feet and a max speed of 50 miles per hour with, quote, 3, unquote, inversions. Schwarzkopf coasters are best known for their perfect circular loops rather than the teardrop-shaped loops, which create positive Gs that are much higher. Mindbender was called the first triple looping coaster in the world, but I'm not so sure about the second one. It still features a great layout going through the trees and is held up well to this day. It's currently undergoing some retracking, which hopefully will improve that second so-called inversion over the creek. Mindbender is still voted highly in the Golden Ticket Awards and considered one of the greats by many enthusiasts. I'm not big on the hype, but it still is a great ride, so I'm going to put it at number 4. At number 3 on my list I have Batman the Ride, the B&M inverted coaster. Unlike Superman, Batman was not the first of its clones to be built. It has a height of 105 feet and a max speed of 50 miles per hour with 5 separate inversions. I've ridden its clones at Great Adventure, Great America, over Texas, and its mirror image at Fiesta, Texas, and I really don't notice much of a difference between the rides. I used to think very highly of Batman, but ever since riding all of its clones and seeing how similar they are, it doesn't impress me too much. However, it still is a very intense ride and even makes me gray out a little on its turn over the parking lot. I've been able to experience better B&M invert models such as Dueling Dragons, Montu, and Alpengeist, but the compact layout of Batman and its intense ride still makes for a great coaster. The last two on my list are the elite coasters of Six Flags Over Georgia. As a park filled with numerous B&Ms and a few clones, these top two stand out. At number 2, I'm putting Goliath, the B&M hypercoaster built in 2006. It has a max height of 200 feet and a top speed of 70 miles per hour. This ride is packed with airtime and is well praised by coaster enthusiasts because of its unique layout. The ride actually goes out of the park and travels over the road that you drive on coming in. Its tremendous hills can be seen from multiple areas of the park and has great scenic views going over lakes, and other rides and walkways. The turnaround point of the ride features a 540-degree downwards helix that makes just about any rider gray out. I especially love the bunny hills at the end of the ride that provide tremendous amounts of airtime, unlike rides like Nitro where you're lucky to get any in the back row. My main concern with this ride is that it has gotten kind of rough over the years. It's established this rattle that you feel in just about every row. It seems that Six Flags Over Georgia has tried to fix this issue by replacing some of the wheels on the trains, but it still amazes me how rides like Nitro that are even older than Goliath can still be so smooth, and I can't even compare it to something like Mako that's absolutely silky smooth. For some reason, Goliath is still rated in some of the top steel coasters in the world, despite its rattle, and for that reason I think it's quite overrated, and I'm placing it number 2 on this list. Lastly, coming in at the number 1 spot for my top roller coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia, I'm putting Twisted Cyclone, the RMC conversion of the old Georgia Cyclone. The original Georgia Cyclone was constructed in 1990 by the Din Corporation as a mirror image of the Coney Island Cyclone. Towards the end of its time as the Georgia Cyclone, park guests started to think that it was time for an RMC treatment, but wondered whether they would give it to the Scream Machine or Cyclone. The RMC conversion of Georgia Cyclone was obviously the right choice because the ride had become almost too unbearable to ride. So it was RMC'd and opened back up as Twisted Cyclone in 2018. Twisted Cyclone now features a max height of 100 feet and a top speed of 50 miles per hour, which is less than most RMCs. Another disappointing factor about this RMC conversion is that it no longer completes its third lap around the course. However, its lack of height, speed, and track length are made up for by its compact layout and excellent maneuvers. It only has 3 inversions, which 2 of those are part of the reverse cobra roll, but the best part of the ride is probably the wave turn, where you're turned 90 degrees perpendicular to the ground, experiencing airtime at the same time. I also really love the airtime hill after the overbank turn. This gives you some major ejector airtime before you go into the final inversion. It may be a short ride and not compare highly with other RMCs, but at least it doesn't lag around the course with barely any speed trying to finish an extra lap. Twisted Cyclone is non-stop action packed into a tiny footprint, and it's silky smooth with some major ejector airtime. And for that, I have to put Twisted Cyclone as my top roller coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also check us out on Instagram at Rides&Roars. That's Rides, the letter N, Roars. Thanks.